G'day everyone, welcome to Aussievision. This is Craig speaking, and this morning I am joined by my lovely team member Fleur. How's it going, Fleur?
Bon dia. You too.
Bon dia to you too. We have just come to the end of national final season with the very, very last national final of the season. It is Festival da Canção, straight out of Portugal, and we've just watched the results, and we have a winner. It is Mimicat with Ai Coração. Fleur, I think this was a result that a lot of people were predicting, but how are you feeling after having seen her tonight?
I preferred it much more tonight because the 50s cabaret was gone and we had a more of a modern vibe. She'd updated her wardrobe a bit, her hair was a bit more tidier. Everybody was in red and black. The only reservation I didn't like, was the lighting, being purple and pink throughout. There were stages you couldn't see them because it was all very monochrome.
Yeah,
that's the only thing. But other than that, spot on.
Yeah, 100%. I was like in the semi-final, I liked it, but tonight I was like completely convinced by it. I don't think they need to do too much to this when she goes to Eurovision now. She's amazing. She, as you would say, she'd improved her costuming and her hair tonight. It felt a lot vampier. It felt like she was sort of there. She was there to camp it up. She knows she's there to camp it up, and she wants to make sure you have a good time at the same time. And I did have a good time. So thank you, Mimicat. I would agree that perhaps there's a little bit too much red and purple going on in the color palette, and the strongest moments are actually when they turn the lights down a little bit in the quieter moments and play with silhouettes. But that doesn't mean, like, at some point she does have to do the sort of dancing around and vamping around the stage. But I agree that perhaps they could experiment with throwing a few other shades in there so that the red pops more in all the costuming. It's very Moulin Rouge at the moment, and at the moment everything else is rouge as well. So a few other colors would be great. How do you think this is going to go at Eurovision? We said we think it'll probably qualify in our preview video. Are you still standing by that?
Yeah, and like she turned up another level, really played to the crowd, and she's going to do that in Liverpool, and they're going to love it. I have no doubt.
I feel like she'll be really fun at preview parties.
Oh yeah,
like she's going to be like, she's giving Monica Liu, you know, like how Monica Liu, like everyone in the crowd loved Monica Liu every time she came up to perform last year, and I could see Mimi being like a similar sort of personality. So I'm really excited to see her at the preview parties this year. The one other thing I'll say about Mimi, and then we can talk about a few of the other acts, is I get anxious every time she goes for the big note at the end. She's never missed it. She always gets it, but it's a big note and it's a long note. And if she misses it, it's going to be very, very visible. So, and I don't know if there's much she can do about that. She's just going to have to rehearse it. And as I say, she's never actually missed it.
No.
I worry because it is a very exposed note and an exposed moment there. But to talk a little bit about some of the other people we've seen tonight, I keep saying tonight, this morning here in Australia. It's nearly lunchtime. But second place was another crowd favorite, another fan favorite, Edmundo Ignacio with A Festa. I feel like in the preview video, we gave people the impression that we didn't like this very much. But I thought this was fantastic. I really enjoyed it. We talked about Conan Osiris earlier this week in the preview video, and he really upped that in this morning's performance. I really felt it. I believed it. It sort of had that same sort of Portuguese edge that Conan had. It was just a lot more accessible and hookier and memorable. So really, Portugal could have gone either way, and I would have been perfectly happy. How did you feel about Edmundo?
I didn't see much difference between his final performance to the semi-final performance. It's pretty much, it was almost the same.
That's probably fair.
I think so. So he's a very competent performer. I quite like the song. I think we did give the impression, but I liked it. I just didn't like it as much as some of the others. But I knew he was the second favourite going in. And we were spot on, really, because they've come 1 and 2. They actually tied for the jury vote.
I will say that I think Mimicat is going to stand out more in Liverpool.
Oh, absolutely.
And I think that in terms of qualification, Portugal may have made the better choice.
Yeah.
But in any other year, I would have been perfectly happy to see A Festa at Eurovision. So I'm not going to. Let's talk about some of the other results, because you had Mimi and Edmundo way out in front of everyone else here.
Yeah.
And then there was like a cluster of results behind them, largely because there were significant disagreements between the jury and the televote.
Yes.
So in sort of third, fourth, and fifth, we had Claudia Pascual with Nashi Maria. We had Barbara Tinoco with Good Night, and then we had Evandro with Povo. I think all largely as expected there. Was there anything that leaked out to you about those three? I think Evandro maybe did less well with the public than I expected.
Yeah, look, his song was definitely more jury bait than public, so that didn't surprise me. I thought he'd get a good jury score, which he did. I think Claudia she's outright third because she did pretty well with the jury and with the public. She was probably, that was fair, her coming third.
She was a bit lower with the public than I expected. I think she only got 4 or 5 points from then, and I sort of maybe expected her to be a bit higher. But the reason she wasn't higher was because of the next couple of results, where we had World Needs Therapy by Depunk Sportif with 8 points from the public. So that's third with the public. Tormento by Voodoo Marmalade with 7 points from the public. And a little further down, we had Encruzilhada by Cherky with 5 points from the public. All of these acts got 0 from the juries. So there was a big divergence, I think, between how the public saw these acts and how the juries did. How did you feel about those three, Fleur?
Look, World Needs Therapy. I thought
that performance may have needed
semi. It was, it wasn't my favorite. I thought that, I think the 0 points were, dare I say, justified there because, look, he was flat from the start and it didn't really pick up. And it was just, to me, it sounded like going through the motions.
Yeah.
Cherky was the one that surprised me. I thought he did really well. I quite enjoyed the performance.
I think Cherky's great.
I think he's great. You know, it was always going to be hard second. And Claudia probably could have finished high too. She did not perform first. But it was a great way to start the show. And who was that other one? Viva, was it?
Voodoo Marmalade got 7. I really like that performance.
Yeah, I did too. I did too. Their harmonies are really nice.
Yeah, and I understood why the public went for it. It's a lot sort of boppier, and it has some really interesting staging with like stained glass effects in the LED. So completely understood why the public went for Voodoo Marmalade and Cherky. Maybe a little bit more confused for my part about Depunk Sportif. But we've also seen in a lot of national finals that people just seem to be into like rock stuff this year of all kinds of rock, not just like one. But this was like the rock act in this lineup. So maybe that's what's vibing for people in Europe these days. Yeah,
I think maybe the fans have gone for Depunk Sportif because they've been around a long time. So maybe there was a bit of sentimental votes there for them in the televote.
Yeah. How did you feel about the show as a whole? Like, I don't know if you watched the semi-finals, but I felt like this was a step up.
Yes.
The semi-finals, I mean, for one thing, they get like Filomena and Vasco in, like they do every year, and those guys know how to hold a crowd. They're very much more entertaining. Not that the semi-final guys are bad, it's just that you can tell that they've saved the best material for Filomena and that sort of act. But yeah, how did you feel about the presentation of the show, production values?
Well, Vasco, Filomena, and Ines have been hosting for a long time. They're quite professional, and they're to Portugal what Barbara Schonenberger is to Germany. I think that's how highly I rank them.
I would love to see a Eurovision hosted by like Petra from Sweden, Barbara from Germany, Filomena from Portugal, and like the lady from France.
Yes,
and I think that would be an amazing Eurovision.
Just thinking about that now. Wow.
That'd be a lot, but it'd be a lot of fun at the same time.
It would be a lot of fun.
I do think, and I know this is just how TV works in Portugal and Spain, but the point from when the songs are finished until the scoring starts always goes on for quite a while. As I say, I understand that culturally that's just how television works in Portugal.
Yeah.
But it can be a little bit of a tough watch. And even when I was like tweeting earlier, I was live tweeting the event and I had Portuguese people coming back and they were telling me that like there's an expression for this, it's billing sausages or something.
9:00 is traditionally dinner time.
Yeah.
So I think that's why.
That probably makes sense. It's just like the songs were done by like 11:30 p.m. I'm assuming, and then there was like another 2 hours until we got results. So I don't know. It's like I don't necessarily begrudge the late start time. That's fine. It's just
Yeah,
the
we can
pacing of the show.
sleep in a bit.
Yeah, the pacing
Yeah,
of
I
the show, that they must have filled a lot of sausages. That's all I'm going to say.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
But
But
in terms of, sorry, I cut
I was
you
going
off.
to say, did you know Eurovision was in Liverpool? A lot of clues today.
Yes, I think we got our umpteenth Beatles medley for the national final season. But I will say I particularly enjoyed Salvador Sobral's Beatles medley, largely because he didn't just go for like the obvious cuts all the time. There were a few
Yeah.
sort of less overdone songs in that medley that he did. And also it's Salvador. So I could watch Salvador just perform forever.
Yeah.
Great guy. And the other thing about the production I was going to highlight is before it started, we got a like 15-minute like short film by
Yeah.
what was it? Jesus Cristo.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. I
Was the
didn't
low
know whether
budget
or not it was on the wrong
Fire
channel.
Yeah, no, I thought so too. But then it was like the low budget sequel to Fire Saga. I'm reliably informed, I will say, that people who understand Portuguese found this very, very funny.
Yeah.
And I actually found it very, very funny too once they actually started singing. And we had the subtitles and stuff. So great job. I would love to see more sort of creative interval acts like that. I also just did not understand the first 10 minutes. But that's not the show's fault. It's not the show isn't for me. So I was really great. It's always really great to see sort of interesting interval and you know, just acts to pad out the show a little bit. I really enjoyed that aspect. So one last question for you, Fleur, before we wrap up. If you were to predict, let's say Mimicat qualifies for out of that tough semi-final, where do you think she would end up in the final in May? I want a number.
Oh, a number. Geez.
I'm gonna have to hurry.
10. I can say 10, can't I?
Yeah, you can say 10.
Yeah, I can say 10. I'm thinking definitely left hand off the scoreboard, but maybe the lower part.
Yeah, I was thinking maybe sort of like 15, 16. Like, solidly, like that's not because I dislike it at all. I just I think it's great. I think it will qualify out of a very tough semi-final. I wonder if when it gets to the final, there might just be other stuff that sort of appears. Like at that point, Lazara shows up, who's sort of in a slightly similar vein. And I wonder, like, who's going to win that battle, basically. But yeah, I think 10 to 15, the bottom half of the left-hand side or the very top of the right-hand side.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's going to depend on running order, whether she gets first half or second half.
Also 100%
better if she's in the second half.
But I think we can both agree that Portugal have thoroughly set themselves up for another good result here.
I think so, absolutely. Yeah.
I am really excited to see how this develops over the course of the pre-parties and into Liverpool for the rest of the season. So thank you to Portugal for another fantastic national final this year. Both of us really enjoyed following Festival da Canção, as always. Thanks for joining me, Fleur. Appreciate your time as always. And as for all our viewers, this is the end of national final season. So we will be back with some other videos about some of the songs at Liverpool this year. But until then, it'll have to be ciao for now. Thanks, everyone. Cheers. Bye.
Ciao.